dropped, and it's showtime from downtown Winnipeg.
Forcing the blast, moves back, scores! Shankly wires and scores!
What a stop by Hellebuck!
Kyle Connor, Jets go bang, bang, bang!
Welcome to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
It's another edition of Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. Joining me, Mitchell Clinton, on this episode, as always, from 680 CJOB, Paul Edmonds and Jamie Thomas. Gentlemen, how are you on this Monday morning? A little frigid in Winnipeg, I must say, but of course, it does get colder, obviously, but this is kind of one of the first or second brushes we've had with the frigidity, if you will.
I'm very effervescent today. I have a lot of you know what? It is what it is. You get the odd mosquito here in the summer and it gets to 17 below or more in the winter. So we just kind of figured out, plan, prepare, and soldier on. And that's what we're going to do. It's hockey weather, gentlemen. It's hockey weather in Southern Manitoba. This is what we like. I mean, we like teams from Florida coming in and seeing minus 20, -20 centigrade, because you know you're in for it in weather terms and certainly on the hockey rink. So we'll see what happens this week. But I'm okay with it. It is what it is.
Yeah, it happens. We can't stop it, so we may as well just go through it. So anything is better than what happened to us last winter. So I can't possibly think it could get. I won't say it because it could get. It won't 100%.
Get. All right, gentlemen. Paul, you kind of touched on the Florida Panthers. We'll get to that in a little bit, but a bit of a mixed bag on this homestand so far. We're recording this, as I said, on the Monday, so 3 out of the 4 games have been played. Paul, I'll get your thoughts on this. There's the high of the 5-0 win over the defending Stanley Cup champions, the disappointment of a 4-1 loss to Columbus, and then a tough start against Anaheim before the Jets rattled off 5 unanswered to get the 5-2 win. So as we speak, the Jets are 2-1 on the homestand, but what stood out to you so far?
What stood out to me is probably not what you might expect. I was certainly impressed with the victory, the shutout win over the defending Stanley Cup champions and Colorado Avalanche. Curious as to why there was a bit of a letdown against Columbus, but we've seen that movie before. But what really struck me was the slow start against Anaheim, because I thought, based on the fact that they weren't very happy, their coach, players to a man, with the Columbus game overall, even though they had some chances early, you thought that there was going to be a response immediately when they dropped the puck against the Anaheim Ducks. And it was a latent response at best from that team. So, that's kind of concerning. And again, they had to have a little bit of a heart-to-heart after the end of the first period, after the first period and into the first intermission of that Anaheim game. And from that standpoint, you get a little bit concerned as to, okay, you're not going to go 82-0. We've heard that before, but that just makes sense. You're going to have games for whatever reason and myriad reasons that you're just not going to perform to your top level and things aren't going to go your way. So you throw that one kind of underneath that heading for Columbus. But then to not have the response in the first period with a team that's on back-to-back afternoon matinees, no less, and has come off a loss in a shootout, played some extra time the night before or the day before in St. Paul, was not the start that I think that the Winnipeg Jets were looking for, nor their fans were expecting. It didn't have to be 3-0 Jets after 1, but what you wanted was some pace, some tempo, and some speed. They eventually got there, but I was a little bit concerned as to how long it took for them to get to that place in their game.
And it really seemed like part of the spark that came for the Winnipeg Jets kind of came in that second period when Mikey Eyssimont was put on a line with Pierre-Luc Dubois and Kyle Connor. That line kind of got going a little bit. And this is a guy in Eyssimont who earned the recall from the Manitoba Moose just short of a month ago. And I'm pretty sure from that time he's played on every single line in terms of forwards. So he got bumped up against the Ducks, as I mentioned. He didn't have any points, but was still named first star and really seemed to get the Jets going, Jamie.
Yeah, he's that little fire plug on any line that the Winnipeg Jets had. And we always talked about Sam Gagner being the Swiss Army knife. He can play anywhere up and down your lineup. Well, now Mikey Eyssimont has kind of joined that group. And it feels like anytime Eyssimont is on the ice, something happens. You have the odd occasional player whenever they're out there, they got their speed, this stuff's going on, but nothing really happens. And Mikey Eyssimont, for whatever reason it is hard on the puck. The puck seems to find him. He doesn't panic when he has the puck on his stick. Great at throwing the puck at the net, looking for rebounds. So I feel like he becomes that player when one line isn't going, that you put him there and something's going to happen. So it is a pleasant surprise, to say the least, for a guy that had a great time with the Manitoba Moose last season, started off well this season. And man, it's really hard to see, head coach Rick Bowness saying that Mikey Eyssimont has played his way out of the lineup, because that doesn't, just night after night, he finds a way to get things done. And what a plug-in placement player he has become.
May I interject?
Absolutely.
Yes.
There's been, over the last, week or so, some comparisons to Mikey Eyssimont and the Swiss Army knife and the plug-and-play guy that was Matthew Perreault. I don't see the comparison there. I think a better comparison is a player that we saw in 17-18 that filled the exact same role by the name of Brandon Tanev. And Mikey Eyssimont has those layers to his game. He's not only quick, has some offense. He likes the physicality. He is tough. He's not afraid. He can get under your skin. All the elements that the Winnipeg Jets were devoid of after Brandon Tanev left and signed that big deal with Pittsburgh. And now, of course, he was snapped up in the expansion draft by the Seattle Kraken, but sorely missed. And that spot was a vacant hole for the Winnipeg Jets for a long time. Well, they found the replacement. It's taken a few years, but it's Mikey Eyssimont. So if you're making any comparisons to players of the past to Mikey Eyssimont, I think it would be a little bit more closer to Brandon Tanev than Matthew Perreault.
I would agree. And one of the things that I'm paraphrasing because I can't remember the exact quote. I don't have it in front of me, but one of the things that Eyssimont said, especially early on, I believe it was just shortly after he scored his first NHL goal, he kind of said, I want to get all these kind of firsts out of the way, because he doesn't want to just, be in the NHL. He wants to be an NHL player. And I really believe that is a really good attitude to have. You're trying to prove yourself. You're trying to stay in the lineup. You're trying to show that you belong there. But if that's the mentality that you have, I think it just puts you in a really good mindset for every single game, and knowing that you have to bring your absolute best, which certainly Mikey Eyssimont has done. Our feature interview this week is with Jets defenseman Dylan DeMelo. He chatted with Jamie Thomas a little bit. DeMelo obviously returned to the lineup from injury on November 25th and put together a 3-game point streak right after that. Throughout the month of November, he'd put together what I'd consider the best mustache on the team as well, and he's been a big part of the Jets penalty kill this season. Enjoy this interview with the Winnipeg Jets defenseman and Jamie Thomas.
Shop where the players shop. Jets Gear and TrueNorthShop.com are your authentic team stores. Make sure to stock up on all your favorite Winnipeg Jets and Manitoba Moose merchandise today. Visit one of the 5 Jets Gear locations or shop online at TrueNorthShop.com.
Hi, this is Dylan DeMelo, and you're listening to Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets.
Dylan, most important question first. The mustache has gone, sort of.
Yeah.
Relieved?
Disappointed, I guess. I mean, I don't know. It's a lot to handle, a lot to take care of. It's good for a month, I think. It's good for just the month. I think my wife's a lot happier than I am. I know the boys miss it. They're like, man, you look different, and I got a lot of love and some good comparables to some legends and some celebrities. So. I definitely miss it, but I think it'd be a tough thing for a lifestyle.
You mentioned your wife. She's the most important person in this whole thing. Now, you have to sell that. That's a tough sell at home, I imagine, or is it?
Yeah, I mean, like, she understands what it's for, right? Mm-hmm. Like, and the meaning behind it. I think that helped. I think if I just grew it for any reason,
just to prove a point.
Yeah, if I just grew it because I got it, I think it might be a different story. So she tolerates it, I guess is probably the best word. And she likes when I'm a little more clean shaved. She actually doesn't mind a beard. She says a beard's cool, but the mustache for her is it's good for just a month.
There's another level of approval, and that's your parents. Like, where do they slide in this whole thing with mustache and facial hair?
Well, I mean, my dad, born in the 60s. I mean, he grew up with a mustache and a mullet, so he's for it. I tease him, like, I obviously got the growth from him. I tease him. I say, hey, man, you got to grow yours out, and he goes, there's a little more gray in there than there used to be. And I go, well, they got things for that now, and we can touch that up. But my dad is he's a clean-shaven guy, so he doesn't really grow it out anymore. I guess that was in the past.
Let's talk about your parents for a second and how you got into hockey. Imagine when you're a kid, there's lots of options. Mm-hmm. Where was the whole point where you're like, I'm going to play hockey?
Well, I think my dad was a big fan. He never played, but he really enjoyed hockey. He's a big Bruins fan, and so he was the one that put me into hockey pretty much as soon as I could start skating around 3. And my mom was, very supportive as well, and just wanted me to have fun and do whatever I wanted. And I don't know, I just gravitated towards hockey. Started watching, Hockey Night in Canada with my dad, and or with my parents, and with Don and Ron,
yes.
and that was my childhood growing up, and loved every minute of it, loved playing. Wasn't a big fan of actually skating. I remember stories, and my dad's got videos, the old home videos of me actually doing snow angels for the first full year of learning how to skate. So my dad was like, oh man, like, I don't know if this is for him. Like, he's not skating. He falls. He doesn't want to get back up. Like, all the stuff that, for a kid.
Up, though, when you're a kid.
Well, for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't know. You're just a kid, right? And you just do kid things. So I was doing snow angels the first full year, and luckily stayed with it. It worked out. But, played some baseball. And my mom tells a story that I didn't want to play baseball. It was co-ed, that the girls were picking flowers, and I would get mad at them for not playing. So I guess I was really competitive, and
the desire to win came early.
Yeah, came early. I was always super competitive, and still am. Like, my wife and I were playing a board game the other day, and she comes back and beats me, and I'm like quiet. I'm like all mad and stuff, and I'm like, wow, we gotta play this game tomorrow. Is it too late? I'm like, we gotta play again. She goes, why? I was like, you beat me. I can't believe you beat me. And I'm like, encouraging, like, oh, nice move. But inside, I'm like, oh my god, like, what the hell's going on?
What are the board games at home? As I get personal here, I'm coming inside your house here, and
well, she just got a game. It's called Kirkle. It's kind of like Scrabble, but with shapes and colors.
Okay.
So she picked a game that she'd be good at, obviously, and it's a fun game. Like, it makes you think. You got to think of patterns. You got to think ahead and try not to set up your opponent and stuff. So I've lost 2 times in a row, so I'm still trying to figure it out. So she's got a good hold on me there. But that's the newest game we got now. We'd like to play games. We actually, I guess during COVID, we actually got this game called Pandemic. It's pretty fun. Like, you work as a team and try to. I mean, I'm sure it was pretty hot during the pandemic. Obviously, no pun intended. But it was a fun game. We get board games and we play them like every day for like a month, and then we'll just like kind of forget about it. So we got some games. I got my family and my wife's family coming in for Christmas, so we had to get some games, and we're gonna have a full house, so it'll be fun.
I'm going to ask you about your Christmas traditions here in a second, but one of the things when I became a dad, I was like dying to say the thing. Dads all have sayings. Yeah. So I'll give you an example. My dad's favorite was, when you become my age, you can, and you're paying for your own bills, right, you can leave the lights on wherever you want in the house. You know what I'm talking about? So sure. What is something you're dying to say to your son when he gets older?
Oh, that's a good one. The light thing for sure. Probably like if you break it, you buy it type thing when you're older, right? When he's a little older and kind of recognizes. Yeah. Right now he's almost 2, so like we're in that stage now where we're talking, trying to like, hey buddy, you're frustrated, you can't do this, can't do that, trying to sort through him, and it's just like he's just freaking out or whatever, right? He can't fathom his emotions, right? So those are good ones, and probably don't touch the TV. And I remember that was one. I guess I love touching the TV, and then the one time my dad like sternly, just like, hey, stop touching the TV, and like enough to where I was like, whoa, like okay, no more touching.
Well, there's things moving on it, so of course.
Well, 100%, and it's new, right? Everything that's new for a kid is like, wow, this is the greatest thing. I want to touch it, I want to feel it, and like for good and bad, right? So that's a good one. The lights, probably you break, you buy it. Yeah, once you start paying bills, then you can have a say in the house or things like that. So, I guess looking forward to that stage, but trying to hopefully that comes slower than faster.
When you look at your son and you imagine all the things he's going to be one day, is hockey player in there? Are you subtly putting that in there, or is it just going to be more organic? Because I imagine he's watching you at games now, and there's that general need to want to be like dad.
For sure, and it'll be organic. But I think like, I want to bring him around the rink. I want him to like hang out with the guys and just be around. And if there's off days, once he gets skating, we'll go out and skate and buzz a little bit together. And like he's already got a mini stick and shooting the ball. And he tells me before I leave the house, "Shoot, Daddy, shoot at the net, shoot at the net." And I'm like, okay, like I'll try, man. Like. I'll do what I can out there. Yeah, I'll shoot at the net. I don't know if it's going in, but we'll see what we can do there. So he's kind of like, he gets it. Like he's saying shoot. He knows the net. We got, hockey books. He's saying he's really obsessed with the goalie, which I don't love. Like I don't want him being a goalie. That's just not for me. But, at the same time, too, if he wants to be a goalie, he'll be a goalie. I want him to play as many sports as possible and just get him used to so many things. He'll play soccer, baseball, basketball. I'd love to get him into golf. That's a fun thing that we can do together and stuff like that. Tennis, whatever it is. I think just the more sports, the more that they can stay busy and take things from each sport that maybe, if he goes with a sport, that would probably help him in the long run.
Now let's go into your Christmas traditions. What's your favorite part about Christmas? Like that you go back to being a kid and that's what that you still look back on and go with a lot of fondness.
I would say just getting together with family. I got a big family, and just the food and all the good times. I mean, it's not like, every Christmas day we're watching the same movie, but, we're watching Christmas movies, but it's just the get together with the family and friends. And for me, ever since I kind of left home to do this journey in hockey, I haven't, that's the one thing I've really missed is family gatherings. And I've tried to go home as much as I can for Christmas, but it's not, always ideal with our schedule. Like this year's schedule is pretty crazy for us in December. So I went home last Christmas. It was awesome because that was Caleb's really like his first Christmas. So that was a blast to share that with everybody in our family. And I know, they don't get to see him as much during the year too, so they can see his growth and spend time as much as it is for us. It's for everybody, right? So we're gonna have my folks and my in-laws come out this year, which will be great. They'll be here for about 10 days or so and watch a few games as well, which will be great. And just a ton of food and a ton of laughs and just remember always so many good memories that shared with all my loved ones.
What's a tradition your wife has brought into your family and to your obviously you too, but what has she brought into
Christmas? So she's Polish, so Europeans, the Christmas Eve is like their Christmas day. So just a ton of food, a ton of pierogies and borscht and all the kind of the Polish foods and just little traditions. They have this cool tradition where you have kind of like it's like a cookie and you take a piece off and you kind of tell the person what wishes for them for the new year or for the future, and they do the same to you. And then you kind of go around, somebody takes a piece off yours and they kind of just, wish you health, wish you happiness, wish whatever. So that's a cool little tradition that I, as a Portuguese guy growing up, never had that one. So that was cool to do. And it'll be nice to have him here to do that.
That's a pretty good one. So I know your Portuguese background, and I feel bad for this. I automatically assume that you would have gravitated towards soccer.
Yes.
And, because of how well Portugal does on the world stage. Cristiano Ronaldo is one of the greatest players ever. Yeah. So what kept you away from soccer?
I think it was just a little too slow for me. I think I don't know if it was just skating or whatever, just the pace of it. Like I just loved hockey and I don't know. My dad liked hockey too. So it was just hockey. Right. It wasn't too much soccer. My dad didn't even play much soccer growing up. So, my mom didn't play many sports growing up, so it was just like whatever I loved, they're just like, let's just keep them in that.
Yeah. The World Cup brings a lot of people together. It's a long hockey season. What does the World Cup do for the Winnipeg Jets in terms of conversations within the dressing room?
Well, a lot more guys are into soccer than I thought. And it's cool. Like we did we split the groups up and we had 3 or 4 guys each group and they kind of picked what the order would be 1 through 4, and you get certain points on based on that, and kind of winner take all type thing. And then we did a bracket for the knockout, kind of just like an NCAA bracket type thing. So guys are getting involved, and it's on every TV now. It's every 4 years, right? It's cool to watch, and great seeing Canada in it, and even though they didn't move on, I thought they played great, and definitely a bright future for all those guys for the 2026 when we co-host it here. And it's been some great upsets too, and some teams that have moved on. It's been really good, good quality of play, and yeah, I think it's been fun to put on. We got that, we got college football, NFL on. Like it's a cool time to be in the sports world.
One thing I've always noticed is how athletes respect other athletes from other sports. What's a sport that you really appreciate and would like to get to know? Like, that how about an athlete out there that you appreciate that's in another sport?
Oh, there's so many. Yeah. I mean, like Patrick Mahomes, like as a quarterback, like his ability to just break down. I mean, it's not maybe the same, but as a defenseman, you got to break down like forechecks and neutral zones and things like that. Like I find we're kind of the quarterbacks a lot. I guess you can say that, quarterback on a power play, right? You're just dishing the puck or seeing things. I feel that's kind of the same way as just a defenseman in general. So seeing a guy like that, the way he can kind of manipulate defenses and then also improvise, like pulling things out of his hat, and it's fun watching him play. I'm a big fan of obviously Ronaldo, but I think for me, Messi is like the best of all time. And I'm sure the Portuguese community is going to love me saying that, but like his ability to facilitate as well as score and his movement off the ball and his size to be such a dominant player, I think is pretty, I think it only work in soccer type thing. Like it's pretty amazing. And even in our own sport, we got amazing players, McDavid and, we just saw Cale Makar and McKinnon. Like these guys are top of the world at what they do. It's fun to see them and, go against them. So those are kind of the other players around the world and around the league that, I'm kind of impressed with.
Okay, as a defenseman, what part of the game or what happens to you where you're like, I wish I would have been a forward instead?
Honestly, like getting on a forecheck would be fun once in a while, hitting a guy or two. Honestly, I would love to be like a net front guy, and I know that's kind of like a weird thing, but man, like as a defenseman, like it's so hard sometimes to get a guy net front nowadays when you can't cross check and really kind of take him out of the play. Like that's where all the goals are, and I think it's easier to get to the net front than it's ever been. And I was like, oh man, it'd be so nice to be a net front guy on a power play, like just get those touches, tips, and rebounds and things like that. I don't think I'd be a very much skilled player. I think I'd be kind of a grinder, but I think that's get on the forecheck a little bit. It'd be nice, smack a few D around. I know that'd be fun to do, but
You've thought about this, obviously.
Well, yeah, sometimes it's just like, oh man, but I think I've picked the right position. Defense has worked pretty good for me.
Has Josh Morrissey given you a present for getting him the second star of the week?
No. He did that on his own. I think he had a few partners. He was with P a lot, and obviously had a lot of success. And then, we mixed it up a little bit and kind of went back to what we were at last year. So Josh is having a fantastic year. I think he could play with. We could probably play a man short, and he would still be second start. He's been fantastic.
A couple of questions about team bonding before I let you go, and let's stay with Josh Morrissey. He's a huge Dallas Cowboys fan. What was that experience for him, you think, from your eyes, and then as a team building experience to go to AT&T Stadium to watch the Cowboys on Thanksgiving of all places?
Yeah, it was sweet. I've been there before. I watched a Sunday night game there, and they played against the Eagles, and it was pretty, obviously, rivalry game, and Sunday night it was pretty sweet. But this was even on another scale. Like, we got the Jonas Brothers doing like a regular season game at halftime. Yeah. Like, it's the NFL and how they put on a show is really out of this world. And that stadium, is like, it's like 5 hockey arenas in one. Like, just how many people are in there and how big and how grand it is. The Jumbotron's like 60 yards long or something ridiculous. Like, it was a great time and great to hang out with the guys and kind of share that experience with everybody. And I know there was a couple of guys cheering for the Giants, a couple of guys cheering for the Cowboys, so it was pretty funny to kind of give it to each other there. And my dad's actually a huge Cowboys fan, so I was sending him pictures, and I hope he doesn't listen to this because I got him a little Christmas gift. I won't tell him what it is because he might actually listen to this, so that'll be a surprise for him, and he'll be pretty pumped. But it was cool, and like I said, they know how to do football down there, and it was a big spectacle, and it was a great time.
Was there anybody there that you thought, well, looking at them, they're not really interested in football?
Yeah.
We're not going to name names, but did you get
we got a couple of European guys that they know a different type of football. Yeah, so it was, I think they thought it was pretty cool too. It was once in a lifetime experience for those guys, and even for us. I mean, it's not always easy to go down to the Cowboys game on Thanksgiving, and we had a suite and all the guys, and do an experience like that was pretty sweet.
How important was that earlier season trip to Banff? And had you been there before, and what was that experience like to be in the mountains?
Yeah, it was great. No, I've been there before. My wife and I, we went there for our 2-year anniversary We went to go to the Stampede and then kind of made a trip out of it because we were already there, and we had childhood friends that were living out there now, so we got to hang out with them. But we've been up there and we did, all that Lake Moraine, Lake Louise, all that kind of touristy stuff. So it was nice to be up there, and man, the weather was great when we were up there. Hey, like it was beautiful. Golf was great.
Yeah.
And we practiced hard and we got a lot done, and the team bonding was fun just to work together and try to kind of get our goals for the year and get the mindset and put last year behind us, but kind of talk about it a little bit too, air some things out. And I think that's kind of helped us so far this year for sure, is being a more cohesive unit, but also understanding how we need to play and how it needs to look. And that was, I think, a very vital trip for us.
Appreciate your time, and go watch the rest of the soccer game.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Hey Jets fans, I'm Sarah Orleski. Don't forget to join me after each and every home game for the Winnipeg Jets post-game show live, presented by Budweiser, where you'll get exclusive interviews, in-room access, and more. Catch us on all Winnipeg Jets platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and winnipegjets.com.
Big thanks to Dylan DeMelo for that interview. And Jamie, obviously, because you were the one that talked to him, I'll slide this one to you. Among the defensemen, he's got the most shorthanded ice time on the Jets roster, and he's one of the big reasons for the Jets' success so far this season on the penalty kill. As we record this, Winnipeg's PK is third best in the National Hockey League. This time last year, which was just ahead of the surge the Jets penalty kill made to get toward the middle of the pack. Last year at this time, the Jets PK was ranked 31st. What or who has stood out for you most on the Jets PK so far?
Well, it starts first and foremost with Connor Hellebuck, with his elevation of his game and returning to the play that we expect and have seen from him for the majority of his National Hockey League career. So it starts there. He's your best penalty killer. But the Jets have not surrendered. Remember that seam pass? They seemed like they gave up all the time when they're killing penalties a year ago, and a lot of offense off the rush from the other team on the power play gave up a lot of that. I just think they're pressuring more. They've found the right combos. Adam Lowry, of course, leads the team in shorthanded goals. He's playing the same way he always has. Brendan Dylan Sandberg has been a pleasant surprise as a younger player on the penalty kill. So I don't want to say like it's one set thing. It's a combination of finding the right fit. Connor Hellebuck has been outstanding, and just the focus on getting better in the special teams, in particular on the penalty kill from the outset of training camp, has really carried over here, and it's a big reason, a part of the reason why the Jets are sitting where they are. And you have to be really impressed with what they've pulled off so far while shorthanded. Another thing that plays into it is they're not taking as many penalties, so they don't have to kill as many and wear down the guys that are in that penalty killing role as well. So there's a lot of little intricacies in there that are the reason for the Jets to be as solid as they are when shorthanded.
And Rick Bowness said after the win over Anaheim, one of the reasons that the Jets were even in a position to be able to come back in that game was due to the play of Connor Hellebuck and the fact that the Jets penalty kill had been so good, especially through the first 25 or 26 minutes of that contest. A reminder, we're going to talk about the upcoming schedule here. A reminder for the two home games that I'm going to mention, as well as all the home games until December 20th. The Winnipeg Jets holiday donation drive presented by Wawanesa Insurance in support of the Christmas cheerboard is on. Fans can make a monetary donation at winnipegjets.com/holiday drive. Each minimum donation of $10 gets you into a draw for a chance to win one of 5 prize packs consisting of 4 tickets to the Jets and Canucks on December 29th and an autographed Jets jersey. Plenty more details on winnipegjets.com. Now, if you do go to winnipegjets.com, you will see the schedule. Just click schedule. The return of Paul Maurice and Jamie Compon on Tuesday as the Florida Panthers roll in. And then there's a back-to-back on the road with St. Louis and Chicago before Washington comes to Winnipeg on Sunday. So couple divisional games, couple Eastern Conference games. Paulie, what should we be watching for?
Well, I don't want to be too bold in making a statement, but the next 4 games, all winnable. That's what you should be looking for. All winnable. And I know that you've got back-to-back on the road, but you've already done this many times this year on the road, and you've had some success with back-to-backs. So Paul Maurice comes to town. His team is below the playoff line. They haven't been as good as they were last year, but when you look at the deletions that they had to their roster, this is not really the same team that won the President's Trophy last year. I mean, this was kind of a team that has lost a lot of players in Huberdeau and Uyghur and Ben Sherratt and Claude Giroux at the deadline, and Sergei Bobrovsky's not playing very well in goal. So it's a bit of a different team, and they're trying to find their way. But to me, with Winnipeg and the way they played at home at 9-3, winnable over Paul Maurice, Jamie Compon, and the Florida Panthers. And then you go on the road. You've already beat St. Louis. You've already beat Chicago. Now you beat Chicago in their building. It's a back-to-back scenario. Both those teams are struggling. Then you come home to another struggling team in the Washington Capitals, below the playoff line. All 4 teams on the schedule over the course of the next week are below the playoff line. So these are winnable games for a team like the Winnipeg Jets that are well above the playoff line and fighting for first in their division. The next challenge spot will be, of course, Vegas, based on the schedule and on paper. Each game, and as you tick them off, has their own unique set of challenges. But for Winnipeg, I think that they can go into this week looking ahead on the schedule and saying there is points up for the taking here. Let's go and grab them with the way they need to play. And certainly, I think with the last game of the homestand, this will probably be the most intriguing one because of Paul Maurice's return. And you know he wants to win the game, and Jamie Compon wants to win the game. But there's a lot of Winnipeg Jets in that dressing room that want to win the game as well. So I think if you're looking for a real impactful game to conclude the homestand, the Florida Panther game coming up on Military Appreciation Night will be it.
You know, and I was just thinking as you were talking about that Florida and Winnipeg matchup, how way back when, I think it was July, maybe it was August, the 3 of us were in a room talking about games to circle on the calendar, games to get tickets for. And this one was certainly that. Obviously, Canadian Armed Forces Night, as Paul referenced, ceremonial puck drop, military-themed warm-up jerseys, an RCAF bugler during play stoppages. There's a whole lot going on that night, so make sure you head to winnipegjets.com/tickets, and you can be in the building for what is always a really special night at Canada Life Center. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us on this Monday morning here. And, we'll look forward to talking to you on the next episode. Enjoy the day.
Always a pleasure, and I will.
Thank you, Mitch. We appreciate that.
And everyone listening, you enjoy your day too, and enjoy all your days until the next episode of Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets, comes out. Talk to you then.
This has been Ground Control, the official podcast of the Winnipeg Jets. For more Jets news, videos, and more, head to winnipegjets.com.